Hi, it's Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, and I'm back with my plans and pans. The big news of the week was President Biden delivering the State of the Union address. And there was so much good news, I thought. For one thing, the United States of America has done more to recover from the pandemic and bring the economy back into shape than anyone around the world. The Biden administration can take pride in creating 12 million new jobs, more jobs than we have seen from any other president in just 2 years. And the good news is that wages have gone up faster for low-income people than any other sector of the economy. At a 3.4% unemployment rate, we are at levels that haven't been matched for the last 50 years. And the president took note that thanks to our votes last year, Medicare can negotiate for lower drug prices. And we know that beginning January 1st, insulin will cost only $35 a month for people on Medicare, for our senior citizens. And the president remarked very strongly during the State of the Union that he thinks it is time for us to extend that $35 to the rest of the population, because we certainly know that we have many children and middle-aged people that are suffering with the high cost of insulin, and that it should definitely be affordable. He noted that we are spending more, $1/3 trillion, addressing the climate crisis. This cannot be matched anywhere around the world. This is the biggest investment in the world. And when you talk about addressing the climate crisis, you're talking about creating good jobs, well-paying jobs. We also passed the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, which is, again, the largest investment the United States has ever made in rebuilding our infrastructure since the Eisenhower administration. That's a long time ago. Many of you will be seeing in your communities the result of this investment in the reconstruction of roads and bridges and intersections that really need repair, and mass transit, which you need in so many of the communities. These are the kinds of investments that we're going to see. I was particularly happy to hear when the president said he was ready to take on big tech. 75% of Americans say that they feel uncomfortable doing transactions online, lots of things on the internet, because they don't know what's being taken from their personal information and how it's been used. And that's why I have been working now for years and almost passed legislation that would protect privacy online, would not let any big tech company collect any more information, not a bit more than it needs to finish the kind of transaction that you're engaged in. So I am hoping, along with my colleague on the Republican side, that in our subcommittee, we're going to be able to move the American Privacy and Protection Act this coming year. And the president certainly gave a boost to that. Those of you who may have watched the State of the Union address probably found that it was, well, let's say a bit more interactive than past speeches that we've seen. Yes, we heard some noise, mostly entirely on the Republican side of the aisle. We heard some shouting out. Marjorie Taylor Greene shouted out a couple of times, one time just yelling lie. The president got into the issue of protecting Social Security and Medicare, and said that on the other side of the aisle, on the Republican side, that there were those who wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. Well, there was a big uproar, a lot of booing and very surprised looks, even from people who have made proposals to cut Social Security. I think it is important for you to know that 160 Republicans have signed their name to raise the age of Social Security, which would mean a big cut, essentially, in Social Security. I have been appointed for the Budget Committee, and I want to pledge to you right now that my top priority on that Budget Committee is to make sure that we do nothing to harm Social Security and Medicare, and I will also be working to even improve those benefits. Over half of people on Social Security rely on it for half and more of their income. So we not only should protect it, but make Social Security even more robust for people who have worked hard, paid in on every paycheck into Social Security, and now that money should come back to them. It's also important to know that this is not a fantasy, that cutting Social Security is on the table. And we have heard over and over again. For example, Senator Rick Scott is on record saying that we should sunset Social Security and Medicare every 5 years. Senator Mike Lee was even more expressive about it, and he said, quote, "It will be my objective to phase out Social Security, to pull it up by the roots." Well, and Senator Lindsey Graham said that seniors should take a little less and pay a little more into Social Security. And finally, Senator Ron Johnson said that we should consider Social Security and Medicare every year from scratch to see what should be paid into it. Under George W. Bush, his proposal was to privatize Social Security, to really go to Wall Street to make sure that all Social Security beneficiaries have their money. That was loudly and soundly rejected by the American people. This is not a partisan issue. This week, I participated in a hearing with witnesses about the federal response to COVID. And you know that over 1 million Americans died during the pandemic, an enormous amount. And too large amount of them are people who did not get the vaccine, which we had some testimony that showed how effective it was in reducing the number of deaths, particularly the report was among healthcare providers. We had 3 expert witnesses who are directly from the federal government, who were telling us about the work they were doing from their various agencies. And I raised the issue that 209,000 nursing home residents died. So I just raised the issue that going forward, we have to focus on making sure that not only COVID, but infectious diseases, all kinds of infections, any kind of future pandemic, let's hope it doesn't happen, that we have a better plan, a clear plan on how to deal with people who are in nursing homes. I don't know about you, but I have heard of a number of people who are still getting COVID. I've heard my children who teach little kids that so there's kids that are home from school because they have COVID. And so you want to take protections, but the best thing that you could do would be go out and get that booster shot. There is no cost to getting the booster shot, so take advantage of that opportunity. I had the pleasure of meeting, along with my staff, with the president of Oakton College, which is in my district. It used to be called Oakton Community College. It is definitely focusing on education, not only academic education, but also to make sure people have the job training, the certifications, because not everybody needs to go for a 4-year college. And that's one of the things that the president said during the State of the Union, that we want to make sure that vocational education is available to all. One of the things that we discussed was increasing Pell Grants, not only for 4-year colleges, but to create a grant that would also help people that are in 2-year and certification programs and make sure that the federal government helps advance the education of not only our young people, but we see a lot of adults, especially in the community colleges, returning to school to get the kind of training that they need to get a better job. So we want to be helpful on that front, make sure that everybody can get the kind of education they need to advance themselves and to help their families. I've made a pledge to make sure that I get out to the new parts of the 9th Congressional District, and that includes Lake County, and I had the privilege of speaking to the Lake Zurich Area Chamber of Commerce. Talked mostly about small business and medium-sized business and just the economy there and how the state and federal governments can be helpful. I was on a panel with State Representative Nabila Syed, who, by the way, is 23 years old, just elected to the state legislature, and was amazingly articulate about all the important issues that were raised at this Chamber of Commerce, and also with State Senator McConkey. So we had a very good discussion, a lot of participation, and I was really happy to meet so many people. Then I also had a chance to meet with the Prospect Heights Mayor Dolick and discuss the issues of his community and make sure that they knew that we are ready to help his constituents throughout his community. I also got to meet with a number of the leaders in Buffalo Grove. Mayor Beverly Sussman, the village manager, and Trustee Smith. They have done so much in their community. There was a focus on delivering mental health services that was really impressive. And I said that we are ready and willing at the national level to help with many of their priorities. And that's the purpose of meeting with these village officials. This was mostly Lake County, and I'm also getting out to McHenry County as well. Those of you who are from those counties, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you, joining my plans and pans, calling my office, anything that we can do to help you. You don't have to cut through the red tape yourself. Let us do it for you. So that's it for me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where my handle is @Jan Schakowsky.